Hello everyone, I'm Amit Danayat, Chief Editor and Founder ANA Digest. Welcome to the fifth episode of the ANA Digest Mighty Mind series. In today's episode titled The Descendants, we have with us talented architects Bhavya Rangarajan, Yamini Deshmukh, Omkar Agashe, Poonam Sardesai, Kaushik Sardesai, Neeraj Mahajan, Chinmay Kulkarni, Rushi Baheti, Gargi Kulkarni Ferwani, and interior designer Ketan Patel. This episode is about architects and interior designers who have an antecedent or both their antecedents, a mother or a father or both, as established architects or designers. So, through relevant questions, we've unraveled what goes on in their minds before they choose their careers, during their careers, how they maintain their individuality, the challenges, the pressures, the advantages. So, let's enjoy this episode. Happy viewing. Very good evening, friends. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be a part of the ANA Digest Mighty Minds. Thank you so much. Let's begin the evening with Omkar. Omkar, when you have a father who's an established architect, what are the dynamics of mentoring? Say in your example, in your case, was your father, did he become naturally your mentor during the beginning of your career, or not necessarily? You had someone else as your mentor in your profession.
Quite frankly, my father became a natural mentor, but he was a reluctant mentor. So he wanted me to the process. He thought that I should go through the process of finding my design, and then if at all there are any queries or maybe some interesting twists within the project, then only he would come and resolve at the very beginning. Right now, I don't think it's mentoring as much as probably as it was when I joined him.
Okay, thank you, Omkar. Rushi, the same question goes to you.
Yeah, so, growing up, like my parenting was in a similar way. Like my parents believe in the ideology of giving up so much freedom, of giving you so many things that you end up being tired of it, or maybe you're just satisfied. So that was the ideology. So I got to know this difference between what you really need and what you really want. So that was the thing which I understood when before joining office. So yeah, obviously my father is my biggest mentor, to be honest. Yeah. So he never sits down and teaches me anything. Like it's always is what he does, what his deeds are. I get to learn from him. So that is what. So he's my primary mentor. Others like other my college professors, like where I intern, my others are definitely my mentors. But obviously my dad is my biggest in there.
Okay, so values and so you looked up to your father for values, but professionally, since you are an architect and he's an interior designer,
Yeah.
so did you also have another mentor in your college or in your profession?
To be honest, yeah, I did have, but I actually he believes in teaching in yourself. Like you teach yourself. Like he's it's been 4 5 years I've joined him, but he's like I won't help you, or maybe you don't need to take guidance under someone. Like if you learn, that will be with you forever. So if you learn something from someone else, you just try to repeat, copy him, or maybe just follow him. It's up to you right now. So I just get an opportunity from him to do my things right now.
Okay, Bhavya, the same question comes to you.
So mom has had a massive influence on me, but I think it's more very much been a very subconscious way. It's so her style is very indirect and soft. So she'll be quite wary of giving me very direct advice because she knows I'll rebel against it. So it has to be a very smart approach from her. But certainly, I can see traces in design today in the design language of the architecture that I produce. I do see a lot of her influence in it, and I think somehow now of late I'm realizing that it's actually professors who have influenced this arc much more also. I didn't realize this back in college, but now I'll be sitting designing and there'll be these one or two odd things they would have said 5 8 years ago that suddenly strike you and just sort of change the course of the design you're doing. So that's yeah.
Poonam, the same question to you.
Um, yeah, I agree pretty much with what Bhavya is saying, with the rebellious act that might come about for our parents. So yeah, my father, he is my mentor in many different ways, other than design also. because as you know, we are doing contracting and everything. So I get to learn a lot in that sense from him every day, although it's been almost 10 years since I've joined office. So of course he is there. For design, primary mentor is Omkar's father, my father-in-law, Hari sir. And yeah, as Bhavya has mentioned, even like when I went for my master's, I think the sort of global perspective and a very sensitive way of looking at architecture is what I think that mentoring happened when I went to for my master's abroad, and some phenomenal teachers that I had at my undergrad.
Same question goes to Yamini.
I think for me, architectural training or mentoring, I don't just relate it to only architecture. You know, I believe it is your psyche, how you think about everything, be it arts or music or theater. So I think in all those aspects, I've definitely my parents are my mentors. But when it comes to architecture, I think my teachers at CEPT were the everything. I owe everything to them. So yeah.
Now you have two antecedents. Your father is an architect, your mom is an architect. So was there a clash of values or amongst?
I no clash of values, no. But I remember for a few of their projects, they would both come with each of their designs, and both of them would be sure that mine is the better design, and they would compete against each other. And okay, you make yours, I'll make mine, and we'll show both of them and let the client decide. You know.
Okay. You seen the movie Dangal, right? So her father coaches her, and then that national coach she goes to. So mom, dad, so anything like that happened?
So, growing as an architect happened when I went to Ahmedabad at CEPT. Until then, I think all the architectural learning as such was subconscious, you know. Like even for example, my toys were like of shapes or that you could deform and you could make it into something else. And probably I didn't understand their importance at that time, but it was just subconsciously happening.
Gargi, the same question to you.
As yeah, my mom has always been an influencer in my life. Even as a kid, I remember she used to make her grocery lists also. Or maybe as a kid, obviously I used to never like vegetables, so she used to play this guess this lunch, and she used to sketch what is happening. Okay, so what is in your dabba? So she used to sketch this, and since then I just started relating myself to art. So I used to express myself through art, or maybe she started teaching me indirectly how to write, or maybe how your alphabets should be. And then later I just realized, okay, I may have an upper hand here, when I started comparing myself to my other classmates. And later I just realized, okay, maybe this is the right thing, where if she's doing so many right things, maybe even I can do all these things. So why not, let's be. Yeah.
Okay. So did you feel that she was your mentor in your profession, or you had someone else? What was the equation?
Definitely she is my mentor, and also my dad also played a very big role, because they both are creative. And if I may say so, practical knowledge, if I may say, my mentoring came from more of practical knowledge. The more projects I did, maybe I just got to know things much more better than someone telling me in
Okay.
person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kaushik?
I think for me, the word mentor is very subjective because, since right now we are in the situation where each one's father or mother is into architecture, how they relate with the word mentor is very personal. Some people have parents who are literally holding their hands through the whole process of design. Some people have parents who are just, sort of taking the back step and, trying to promote their child to run the firm. For me, I think personally, mentoring is more of curiosity because my father always believed in independence as far as design is concerned. Since I think I must be the fifth or the sixth architect in the family, right? So I think he just gave up by that time that, let him just do what he wants to. But curiosity has always been at peak, keep what are you doing in first year or, your thesis or while you're teaching or in your practice. So small pieces of advice always came through, like how should you speak with your vendors? How do you negotiate with your clients? Whatever, things like that. So I don't think there's a particular standard as such as far as mentoring is concerned. So, like you said, what are the dynamics? I think mentoring is really very dynamic as far as each of us is concerned.
Chinmay?
Yes, of course, I agree with Rishi. And yes, everyone's, I'm pretty sure everyone's fathers and mothers have been very influential throughout their lives, not only in architecture and design, but, how we have shaped up as individuals today. Being a mentor, yes, for sure, he has always been one. He still continues to be. Right from the fact that he coerced me into getting into architecture and not working with him the minute I got out of college and sending me away to other architects' offices, just so that I get that exposure and that experience, and not having that umbrella and not being under that umbrella and that protective environment of a father and a son, that may have happened if I would not have done it. So yes, I agree 100% that yes, there is always that mentoring that keeps on happening and has always happened.
Is he as strict as he looks?
Not at all. With me, not at all. With others, oh yes, absolutely, all the way.
Okay. Neeraj? Neeraj?
I mean, like as we know, architecture is more than like a way of life. So, of course, since childhood till now in profession, I'm learning so many things that are part of way of life. So I consider architecture as a broader picture of life than just like an independent profession. So, of course, my dad is my biggest support in architecture world because of his experience, his principles, and like the mostly it's contextual reality in India. How you deal with that is biggest issue or biggest challenge. Let's say it's not an issue; it's a challenge. So of course, then when I went for masters in LA, and then later I had opportunity for a couple of years in Mad Architects. Mayan Song, I worked with him very personally in as a designer, and Yosuke. So they were my another set of biggest mentors, which I will continue with the principles from what I learned in last few years, and so it's like a combination of uh, mentors, I would say, like the things I'm learning and I'm trying to explore as a new original thinking. So I would say as we go on, it's a positive sign if you keep adding different inspirations in your life.
Absolutely. Well spoken. Ketan?
Um, my biggest mentor is my dad. Like I have been seeing him since my childhood, and I've been very fascinated with him. Like the way he used to go on the sites for selections, the way he used to handle all the clients and everything. And most of the fascination was of his computer for me to play. So I used to go there in the office to just play. So at that time, started seeing him doing all this, going through all this process, and I started, getting into it. The main reason me getting into interiors and architecture was him, because earlier I used to love only drawing, but what is art and what the process has to be gone through and how you handle everything, it fascinated me more. Like you get to learn so many aspects from just one thing. Like from interior architecture, it gets into all the professions, we combine and it comes up with this thing.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I was more fascinated, and then I started like looking up to him, how he used to speak, how he used to go through his processes and everything, and indirectly became my mentor throughout from my childhood till the time I started with my profession. So I always used to admire.
Come to you, Neeraj, with the second question. When you saw during your childhood the ups and downs of your father in his professional life, maybe mood swings at the dining table, some sharings, especially the down moments, did you get disheartened about the profession of architecture, hearing him in his down moments?
So actually, this is a very interesting question because he has one principle that I mean, in terms of these mood swings and all, he's a very hard person to read, and he makes sure that he keeps everything away from home. So I've never seen anything happening at home. So that's, I would say, it's a very positive thing I try to learn from him, that keep things of office at office. And of course, he might be more silent at that day, but he won't show anything or he won't say anything. Like that's the way I have seen him throughout. So if he's too silent, I understand maybe he's thinking of something or he's in process of something. So that's the indirect way of understanding we have. We never say things of like that.
So, not expressing at home is what you learned from father, but work continues in your mind even at home, or you can successfully cut off mentally from work.
If I'm in like hardcore design stage, of course I keep thinking, maybe keep dreaming. I don't know. It just continues throughout. But I mean, there is another passage that keeps you in reality check. But design continues all the way. There is never a stop in design. True.
Bhavya, the same question to you.
So, as a family, we've seen a lot in terms of mom's journey in this world of architecture. The things that always stood out to me was I would wait. I mean, dad and I would be waiting in the car for her sometimes when she finished meetings, and she would walk out, especially in the government sector, she would walk out. She would just be one woman among maybe 10, 20 men behind her who are basically engineers, site in charge, all of that. And that just, I found very cool. I was like, and especially in the 90s, this was really something special. So, every situation that she's had, both in the public and the private sector, at the end of it, I've sort of seen her emerge stronger than she was before. Uh, I don't want to lie here. I did, this whole drama of a private practice did discourage me a bit from the field. But at the end of it, what's great about architecture, I think, is the fact that you envision something, you put that on paper, and someone puts that faith in you to invest all that money, and you see that being built in front of your eyes. So I think somewhere that balance, was, I just felt like this was a profession I would want to see myself in.
Very candid. Kaushik, the same question I would like to ask you.
Yeah, like I quite agree with what Neeraj said. So when I was a kid, or when Poonam and I were kids, the subject never came up to the table because, like, I think architects usually try to keep things to themselves, not very explicit about their feelings. But once Poonam became an architect and I was in my teenage years, things did start coming into the house. And but then so yeah, then arguments and trying to reach parity of design or whatever. And I think I was in my teenage years that time, wanted to become a tattoo artist or a guitarist, crazy ideas, crazy dreams. So never really thought that would happen. So I never really got to see that side of it, like I don't think I was able to kind of take a call whether this can discourage me or will it encourage me in my career. I just, like I said, I think in the previous discussion we had that it just came across, it was a luck by chance, I think, for me personally. So yeah.
Yeah, Ruchi?
So I've seen those ups and downs. So obviously, the ups you cherish when you're a dad, or like my mom also used to practice when until I grew up. So you always cherish those. But downs, actually, when they used to discuss among themselves on the dinner tables. After Ruta also joined practice, so it always, in fact, motivated me to join faster, like to learn under him, to join the team. So it actually motivated me instead of discouragement, I would say.
But
So
even when they discuss challenges or even problems.
yeah, sometimes see problems. They used to practice interiors. So I thought of pursuing architecture because it becomes a complete team then. So sometimes the challenges lack because of architecture or maybe other things. So those things I really wanted to pursue, so I did that. But apart from that, it always motivates, if you know something that you could do better, maybe you can pursue, or you can learn better and you can get to the team. So it's always a better thing, no, for the company. So it was motivating.
True. Omkar?
Being the second kid, I have not seen the struggling days of my father. By the time I was able to understand, he was pretty successful. If I'm not being modest here, but he never brought work on the dining table. But I remember pre-mobile era, there used to be a time when from 7:30 a.m. our landline would start ringing because 10 a.m., 9:30 a.m. my father used to go out on the sites and wherever. So to discuss for work for the whole day started from 7:30 a.m. talking to all the contractors, and so that aspect I saw in the early days, that the work started from the house itself. Eventually, as the mobile era came, and now what I see, the basic difference is we do not have, we have a complete cutoff of the work part in the house. So it's a, I think probably with his age also he has stopped that particular thinking about those aspects. Whereas ups and downs are concerned, as I told you, the struggling days were over by the time I was able to understand. But I remember my sister, my mom telling me that my father used to go at 7 a.m. to work when he was working with Architect Singh, and then he used to do his own sites afterwards, and later on coming back home after dinner he would sit till 2 a.m. to complete the drawings and all. So that probably phase happened before me. I would have loved to see that, but I couldn't. So I have just grown up on the stories.
Absolutely. And I heard he used to cycle down all the way.
Yes, he used to cycle down, so pretty long distance.
Amazing stories and amazing persons. But it happens that even when a person is successful in a practice, certain challenges keep coming, or certain uncomfortable clients, or things not going down well. So even in those days, it was not mentioned at home.
It was not mentioned in the house. I remember when we started working together, I got to learn all these things in the office itself. So we make a point that we cut off and not bring the work back to our home.
So Kabir won't be exposed to work talks. You, Poonam.
We're trying very hard not to, but he's quite interested in all the arts, and we hope he becomes a good
another
musician
architect.
rather than an architect.
Okay. Yabini?
I think our my parents' office and home was the same. So one side was office and one side was home. So, but I think my parents were very positive and very relaxed kind of people. You know, I've never seen them upset about anything. Forget work, but about anything. In fact, while you asked the question, I was remembering in his last 3 months before he passed away, there was an architectural interview that for his works and everything that happened, and they asked, so what were the downs in your career and your life? So just 3 months before he knew that there was no, and he said, I never had any downs. So you know, so that was his attitude, and I think somewhere it has been. We've inherited that yeah, theek hai, big deal, you know. And I particularly remember that his cheek would go like up and down just for a few seconds, and he would say, forget it. And that would mean that, okay, you know, that's it.
That was a tell.
Yeah. So,
Amazing generation, your antecedents. Just a rider on this question, I just can't help asking. Do you ever get thoughts about legacy? Like your parents have left something and you look up to them and you learn so much. And you're so proud when you speak about your father or your mother. So do you also feel that you should leave a legacy? And do you think that such thoughts come to your mind, honestly?
I think legacy in terms of architecture, no, I think that will just happen automatically. But I think the kind of values, like in terms of giving back to the society, yes, I do feel the burden for it sometimes, because I feel that if I'm not able to give back to the society, then there's no point of me doing anything, you know. So yeah, I do feel that.
Well spoken. Yeah. Gargi, the same question to you.
Yeah, there have been ups and downs, and I think my father played a very big role in this, because I used to see mom coming. She used to hug us, and she used to go in the room, and we used to think, okay, mama, papa, talking, and then once she was out of the room, she was all fine. So I think my father took everything, like understanding what is happening, what is not happening. So the chemistry between them was remarkable. And as kids, obviously, we couldn't understand why is this happening or what's not. There was a very intimate moment which I would want to share.
Yes, please.
It was my birthday, and it was a big birthday party, and they had got all the presents, gifts. dresses, everything was there. And she was there, mom was there, and suddenly while cake cutting was happening, she was not there. We are like, okay, I was waiting for her. My dad said, no, please go ahead. So he was doing all his things. But later she just came up and then she said sorry because she had some emergency on site. And that time, as Omkar said, there was no mobile. So it used to happen on landline. What is happening, what is not happening, and where was she traveling, no one knew. So that one incident just taught me right now it must be so tough for her to leave her daughter's birthday, which is happening, and going on site for an emergency because some client was some miscommunicated, or maybe some carpenter was injured or something like that. So you should know where your priority is. So by that time she knew that her priority was the site, and I think I could just um, take care of my daughter a little later. So I look up to her that she did this, and right now when I'm at that stage, I can understand what she must be going through. Yeah.
So you would also like to emulate this that once you have a daughter and it's her birthday, what would you choose? Would you go to attend to that client, or you would continue with,
No,
with the
I may
birthday?
take my daughter with me to the client, come back, celebrate her birthday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, in short, you are protected from any disheartening
Yeah, and
talks
as
and
positive person she is,
yeah,
she cannot
very,
she
yeah.
cannot get all these bad vibes on the table. Absolutely not. She'll be like, okay, good, you are good, your day will be going good.
I have
Nothing
not
bad
seen
will
her
not
without
happen.
a smile. I have not
Yes.
seen her yet.
Yes.
So, Poonam,
I think Kaushik has given an elaborate answer. So, as you know, I tried my best to dissuade him from
but he
taking
was
up the
very
profession.
conservative. He didn't speak about your rebel streak at home.
So I tried my best to bring the conversation home to dissuade him, but apparently it didn't work. Yeah, my father's he still never brings any work. We have lots of discussions over work in office, but if we are having lunch together, it's all like, wow, nothing happened like 2 minutes back. And so that is with my father. Now, after I got married, and now when we have lunch with Omkar's parents, so as he said, Hari Kaka also, he never brings work home, but he 24/7 will bring the craft home, which I think is amazing. So anytime we're sitting on a chair, then he'll explain like beautifully, you know, where I got this wood from and what was the drawing that was given to the carpenter. So it's like, I like it if they bring it home. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, like bring your work home. So yeah.
Okay, Ketan, same question to you.
No, I haven't seen anything coming up home till now. Like there is a simple policy with that. Like you shut your brain from work when you just leave the office and when you're at home. You know, so you keep your home stuff at home and your office stuff at office. So I've never seen him from the start. He's like when he lands up home, he's like all smiling. How was your day? How's things going on at school and everything? And once he's like back in the car and he's like phone on the phone and everything is like, okay, what's happening there, this that starts up. So I've never gotten discouraged from his way of working and seeing towards the design field, like okay, it's very hectic or it's a lot of pressure on the head. Nothing like that I've
That
seen
you
in
learned the hard way on your own.
yeah, that I've been learning since I started like working with him. Like it's not that easy which we see, which our parents have been like shielding
Yeah,
us
it's
from.
very difficult. Now,
Yeah.
like with both of us working, we tend to bring home work every day.
Yeah,
All the arguments, all the
comes up.
discussions.
It comes up at home. When two of the people are working together, then it comes up home by default. So that's how it is.
Chinmay?
So yes, there have never been work talks happening at the dining table for sure, because my dad has always been of the firm opinion that work should not happen when you're having food. But yes, work should definitely happen the minute that you're done with food, or the minute that you're just before that you're sitting down for food. So yeah, and yes, we do tend to get a lot of work home, not in terms of drawings, but yes, something is always going on in the mind. Uh,
When you
there
were a
is-
child, during your childhood, when
Yes,
your
even
father
when
came
I was a
home,
child, I do remember that there used to always be phone calls, and day and night things used to keep ringing. The landline just used to keep ringing. I used to get damn irritated. He never used to let us know. if there has been an issue, or if there has been a problem at site, he used to always come and tell us and celebrate with us if something happened exactly the way he wanted it to happen, or exactly the way he had planned for it to happen. And yes, I am also, we do try to, but yes, the mind always keeps working, regardless of whether you're at the dining table or not. These days, the phone keeps ringing. Uh, but yes, I don't think that I have ever been discouraged from getting into architecture or design after seeing him low. And I have always felt ki, there is, if he is low, and I used to understand that something is amiss, I used to feel more of going and helping him out in that particular situation, which I don't think I would call it dissuasion from getting into architecture for sure.
Wonderful round. Yeah, Gargi, you want to come in?
Want to contribute there. As he said, that you would want to go and help. So I remember waking up at night and where my mama is doing all this work on tracing paper. That time it was all hand drafting, and I saw my dad very cutely coloring this and that. So I was like, okay, ठीक है, even I want to do this. I went, even I took a crayon, and even I started doing. So there she was started encouraging me, and I think she encouraged me a bit too much. कि मैंने उसका the real drawing was ruined by me by that time. So, but still, that
But
was
look, today you are an architect.
yes.
So nice. Bhavya, I'll come to you with the next question. Is it hard to maintain your individuality in your career, especially when you have a mother who's an eminent architect, established architect? And this question will come to all. Just read instead of mother, father in some cases. And so your antecedent, if he or she is an established architect and a very eminent one at that. So
I don't think there's so much. So architecture in itself being so trend led in that things change, technology changes, you adapt to that, and that's how the whole thing goes. So from clients, I think strangely enough, I've always gotten this, okay, so your mom had this style, now we want to see what you can do. So they're always looking for that little element where a part of me could, do things very differently. So I don't think that external sort of thing exists, at least in my case. When it comes to how it is with mom, I think she's very aware of how, if she finds that something I'm doing is not very right, not in a technical sense, but more in an ideological sense, she won't push it beyond a certain point because she just, lets it be, and that's basically according to her my style cultivating, and just lets that happen. So yeah.
but anytime things went south, like for example, certain clients whom you took the client's brief, and I don't know the process exactly, but in your office, but you took the client's brief and you designed, and then you showed the client, and then the client asked ki Usha ma'am ne design kiya hai na, so something like that.
Very gladly that has not happened. But now this is a new thing that I not thought about.
Omkar, the same question to you.
We have two processes in our office. It depends on who has got the project. So a lot of times I have to adapt myself when the project has come to my father. So even if I'm leading the project, I know what is expected from design point of view and technical point of view. And whereas my projects are concerned, I have a totally different mindset and a different approach. So adaptability is more important for me, and rather than individuality, because at the end of the day, it's the project and the client's requirement which is more important than showing your individuality in that project. So to have a successful project, you need to understand the client first, and then the priorities on your individualistic styles. So that comes as a later part.
A bit tricky though, handling, but it's an amazing approach, I would say. Yeah. Kaushik, the same question to you.
The way I would like to tackle this is, it really depends if you're running a design practice or if you're running a business. So that's a major difference of what you're doing. And especially like the way I've seen my father take his journey into architecture, he started being an architect, but let's say due to financial constraints or, the way you got work, you just started taking up work. He eventually ended up becoming more into the contracting side of the business. and he had a lot of chance at getting government projects, urban design projects. But him being an kind of, he moved to Pune from Mumbai, so sort of being an outsider, it was very difficult for him to take up these challenges. So he always wanted to be an individual, and that's probably one of the reasons why I chose not to really join his practice or work with him. I decided to set up my own practice with my wife, because I really wanted to. And I think he really supported me in that because of his own journey, right? Because he was like, the things which I could not do in my age and times because of whatever limitations I had, it's good that, you guys can actually now, since you have the liberty and the privilege to take these things up, it's good you can at least go out there and explore and do all the things which I could have hoped for. So he's been very supportive of that.
Okay. Chinmay, the same question to you.
So in our office, there's just always been one system of work where all of us approach a client, whether it doesn't matter who got the client to the office. We all sit together at the drawing table. We have our own discussions. We have our own deliberations. And I think I think you mentioned that, just like your mother and father used to fight over, who gets to, present their drawings. I have always observed that both of us, at the end of the day, we get to present our work. Even our junior associates sometimes, get to present their work to the client. So it has always been that open kind of discussion and open kind of way to present drawings and proposals to clients. So individuality, yes, I would definitely say that that always comes in with every line that you draw on a paper. But at the end of the day, I agree with Omkar that after all, it is always a project and a client, and it is something that you would always want to go through and go into more than putting your chap or your mark on the design or the project. So yes, I would not say that it is very difficult or easy to always put in all your individual elements or design features. Of course, there are always a couple of things that make a project stand out as per for a particular architect. So when you're going across on the road, ki, "Arey, yeah, this looks like a Charles Correa building, or this looks like someone else's
Signature.
work." Yeah, that's like that will always be there. I would say yes, I would. I definitely hope that over the years, people will also recognize my work like that. Ki, this was Sanjay's work, and now this is also Chinmay's work. So it's that same element that is repeated, or that same feature that comes in. But yeah, I don't think individuality in terms of design can really be, put in every time.
Okay. Rushi?
So it's never about individuality for like my father, or it's always about the team. So you grow as a team, So it was never like maybe my dad designed this thing. It's always he's promoted all the designers in the office as well. So it's for me also. Like whenever I joined, it's not about myself. It's about the team. Whatever things goes around in the office. Like Omkar also said, it's how you adapt the things. So one person gets to design, or maybe he does that. You adapt the thing and take it forward. So it's never about your own personal individuality, and it's about the team. So I just think that Bhaitin Associates probably B&A goes ahead. So it's never about your personal Rushi thing. So it's what I think.
Neeraj?
Actually, I do believe in individuality, and I like being coming from very critical thinking background in design. I always try to be very critical about any concept or an understanding of design for that particular project. So in every project, there are two important aspects that work simultaneously. One is function, and one is where you can be way more creative. So you cannot change the shape of the room, but you can totally change its perspective of looking at that room. So fortunately, I mean, I've been exposed to critical thinking way, like I've been doing that for a long time, and I do make it a point to make it an individual project. So I would not repeat any aesthetic or any similar element in all the projects. So, and in that, after joining my dad, I do have complete freedom in that because that was my condition to join. So he obviously respects my decision on that, and like even when I was in LA or China, we used to have discussions and lot of talks about aesthetics and critical thinking and how we can approach this in another way. So yeah.
So nice, good for you that on ground it's sorted. But
Yeah.
what about the perception of people? This is Hemant Mahajan's son, so
No,
obviously-
I don't really care about that.
Okay, so it's not hard as to maintain your individuality in that sense.
I mean, yeah, I don't have to prove that.
Okay, yeah. Yamini?
I think I've never worried about it, or I mean, it's just I've never cared about it. I think it's just what is best for the client, and yeah, I agree. It depends on the client as well, and who gets the client a lot of times. But I think it does. In end of the day, it's only the design and how you take it ahead that is what matters. But at the same time, I'm working on a hospital and a residence in Sangli, and my parents worked on their earlier project also in Sangli. So and they were very happy with the design, everything, and all that. And then the lady asked. So my mom her name is Asha, and she's called as Ashu, and my father is called as Bhai. So Ashu ni paila ka? So she's okay. She liked it. So, but I think I take it as a compliment. That cool, nice. I like it.
Yeah, Ketan?
There are clients, like few clients we have, which the old clients coming up with some new projects or something like that, and they know like, okay, Ketan has also joined him and all.
Mohite Bungalow, for example.
For example, yeah. The only thing they're looking out was that they want something new. So obviously they want me to work on it, and the only thing which should be carried on was the ideology of the dad, the way of working, or the way he proceed with his work, or with the discussions and everything. That's what was inherited in me by looking at him and by growing up and studying him and everything. That came indirectly into me by default. So I didn't have to worry about that. The only thing which I have to worry about is like, okay, I have to stand up to some of the reputations of the oldest clients which we have already, and which they put the faith on in my father's name. Okay. So once I've done their one work, then next work it's like, okay, no, it's not father. Now Ketan has to do all the work. It comes up in automatically. It grows up. It's not that which we keep on,
But to
fighting
some
for it.
extent, in the beginning, you did face the.
In the starting, of course it is. Like when we start working, it's like we are also so fresh. We are not that thorough. Like if the client puts all the money in the pot for us, there has to be a guidance. No matter where we work or how we start working or something like that. Once we start the practice, it's new that time. Once we have some core experience behind us, then it becomes very easy. The client starts reading. Okay, while talking itself, the client gets to know. Okay, he knows everything now. So it's like we can work directly with him also. It's okay with him. And the new client which comes up and you've got that experience behind your back, then the things keep on shifting from. Then that part goes up, slowing down, and the other part comes in. It becomes more easier.
Poonam?
So yeah, individuality is there, I think, and both of us, my father and I, both are very headstrong. So yeah, so of course he lets me be, but I think why shouldn't I cash in on his experience? So then what is the point of joining his office if I'm not going to actually listen to anything? So yeah, I think he's let me be pretty much in terms of design, and till now at least no client has come and asked me if your father has seen this. But thankfully, whatever projects I've worked on with him, with his old clients, they have come back with new projects with me, like wanting me to be on board. So I think that is a very positive thing. And as a parent, of course, like if you see like your kid is making a certain mistake, irrespective of what field, you would like to give in your like 2 cents. Why
True.
not?
But suppose there is a design meet between you and your father, an internal in the office.
So it's all doors closed and it's all fireworks. Always.
So, but being the principal architect, no such concept.
Yeah, but no, but like as Omkar said, like in my head I was very clear, like when I'm joining my father's office, it's his practice. So he is like the prime initiator sort of with the design concept, whatever. And with Omkar and I, like when we work together, then it's like our play field. So we can, that freedom is there with the both of us. So I think that
So
clarity
even when
is-
you feel that he is wrong and you are right somewhere, you give in because it's his practice.
No, I don't give in that easily. But yeah, eventually
Final
I,
call is
yeah,
this.
I
Same
do
with you,
give in.
Omkar.
There's no question of giving in. Uh, the point has to come across. So if it's a mistake on either one's part, I doubt my father has that outlook because he's quite thorough. So he checks for mistakes first, and then the aesthetics, and then all other aspects come later on. So mistakes are taken care of at the beginning, but while discussing and when the ideas are uh, thrown at each other, even with the staff and all, we first gather all the design aspects of it and then try to iron out if there are any
But my question
mistakes.
is, if at a juncture you feel that you are right and still.
I at the when I started out, of course, I was quite afraid to put my point across. But eventually, I learned that uh, being honest is more important
But do you
than
give
taking
in
a backseat.
ultimately, finally?
Sorry?
Do you finally give in even if you feel you are right and.
No, it's not giving in. It's see how you give in is very important. Actually, no one should feel that they've lost the battle, and so yeah.
You want to come in, Neeraj? Yeah.
No, I mean, I just wanted to add one small point because I believe individuality is an asset. So I believe if I am joining something, I should be an asset. So if I am joining some practice, it needs to be considered in that way. And I believe just like if we hire some good designer, he's an asset, he or she. So that addition to the existing thing makes it more powerful.
True.
So I look at it in this perspective.
I'm not editing this, huh? Even if you call me tomorrow. Okay. This round, Gargi, I have to ask you. Okay. So, as I said, don't call.
You're more worried than us. As to what our parents are going to come to you with.
Yeah. Gargi?
Yeah, actually, as he said, being an individual is an asset. More than me, my mom was worried about my individuality. So when I decided to take up production designing as my main profession, she was the first person to support me. Like, okay, TK, you have done all these things. You have seen how the practice works. You have seen me. You have seen me working since the kid. Why don't you go and explore? Why don't you go and explore your dreams? So as I went to Bombay also, I never had this fear ki if I don't succeed here, what will I do? I always knew that I had a big backup waiting for me. So I could give in my 1000%. I did not have to worry about any money or whatever. But that's how. And then later, working for a few years in Bombay, later I got in so many things on table. Like I knew how things are working, or I was an asset. Yes, as he said, I was an asset to the office. And also, just to say, me and my mom run two different dukans. So, yeah. So, for us, she says, go ahead with your idea. It's fine. You can deal with your own client. I will deal with my own client. Yes.
Okay. Next question, I come to you, Yamini. Okay. So, Yamini, what is success? Let's go a bit, this is a bit philosophical, but I want to know what is success to you intangibly? So, tangible success is money, riches, fancy cars, big home, big office, world tour, and all. But intangible is none of these material gains. So, what is intangible success?
I think I've had a sort of a philanthropic childhood, and like it has always been encouraged in while growing up and even now. So I think although you mentioned not riches, I think for me success would be when I have enough that I can help anybody that I choose to. So if I see a homeless person, I should have the capacity to say, okay, you come and stay here from tomorrow, and I shouldn't feel the pinch. I should just be able to.
So the purpose makes it intangible.
Yes.
Though it's money, the
Huh,
purpose
yeah,
makes it
absolutely.
intangible.
So
but how will you measure now I'm successful?
So when I don't feel the pinch while doing that, I would be very happy. So I would think that I'm partially on my way, because let's say I recently helped my maid build her house and also my driver. So I guess I'm on my way, but I think I would be happy when I am just able to help everyone. You know.
I wish
That would
you
be-
all the best that
Thank you.
this happens very fast in your life. Poonam,
So, but is it wrong to want the tangible part of it? It's okay, no?
no, absolutely. I just want to know. I know. See, tangible pretty
No,
much
no,
will
sir,
be
I'm
here
just.
and there.
Okay, intangible for me, honestly, what I really crave, because as an architect, you're asking, so I'm replying in that, sir, whatever, that way, is when a client, after a couple of years, also still send me photos or still message saying that, we are very glad that you designed this space or the house. And when someone came to our house, they mentioned and they complimented. That, I think, is like the icing on the cake. That is what I really truly crave.
I love the house you all designed for us.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's an amazing. Every day
That's
we
why I
tell
gave this
ourselves that
answer.
we are so
So,
lucky that you all designed it for
no,
us.
thank
Yeah.
you, so thank you.
Okay, Bhavya.
So I think I'm just going to piggyback on that answer. So of course, there has been that phase through college where you looked at all these star architects. You had your Norman Fosters back in, because all of them living the high life on their Instagram accounts. All of that happened, right?
Okay, I can't help ask this. Who are you starstruck with? Awestruck with?
Oh, I was trying to make a philosophical point
Okay,
rather.
yeah. No, but just out of curiosity.
Oh, there are plenty, and
Okay.
for different reasons.
Okay.
So, but where it's sort of leading now, increasingly, is probably because I'm also putting more years into work. I now realize that it's this, the client coming back and saying, "Oh, you designed this 2 years ago. Look at how well it's working now." And I think another metric that's added very recently for me is also knowing that your building is performing really well. So there is, of course, the aesthetic side of architecture, but there is also a very scientific side. So whether you've reduced energy consumption massively, and that is in some way, I guess, giving back to the planet, or that sort of a side has now been triggered in my mind. So I think I'm veering in that direction of thought.
That's amazing. Amazing. Kaushik, the same question to you.
I think for me personally, intangible success would be a peace of mind, where you go back home and you really sleep with no worries. But I don't think that's ever going to happen in an architect's life. So for me, I'll always be unsuccessful intangibly because, like lot of things to add on, like what Poonam said, or, what Bhavya said, that seeing the smile on clients' faces, or, them appreciating your project 2 years later, 5 years later, or having everything designed to perfect precision as you've imagined it, with no budget issues, no client complaints, and finally being able to go home and sleeping it off peacefully, that yes, I have achieved what I wanted to today. For me, that would be that one day of success which I will crave for. Yeah.
Rushi?
Success is not a single goal. I just believe like it's a journey. Like whatever small things at the side, probably if I feel a small joinery, or maybe some stuck at somewhere, or maybe some at a detail, and I find that, or maybe I get guidance and I crack that. So that's success for me. These all small success build up a good goal for me, and I think that's a long journey to go. So I don't measure it in any of these
So
small
it's a
goals.
chain
And-
of eureka
yeah,
moments. which
chains,
you
and
get.
I don't actually want to even reach that level, because you always keep learning, you thrive for more, you'll keep learning, and you have that vision for, so you actually don't want to achieve that. It's just the journey.
Okay.
I prefer that.
Chinmay?
I think I agree with you more right now than what I would have agreed with you some time back. For sure, I would have loved to go back home and have a good night's sleep. But I agree with you on that point 100%. In an architect's life, that's never going to happen. And but yes, it is always these small things that matter. A client coming back to you for his second home, a client coming back to you for maybe his office, that same client referring you to so many of his other friends, and you ending up doing their houses, their friends' houses, their parents' houses, their children's houses. All of these things, I think, add up to quite a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day, which again helps you sleep a little bit more at night. Yeah, so I think yes, these things really help.
Okay. Neeraj?
Uh, I think intangible success is most valued at our home, and it's, I mean, that's the way to measure success for us. I mean, that's how I have grown up. So mostly, like, I believe in originality. So if I create something really, something new, that is, I mean, there is also an argument that nothing is new, but still there is new creation or satisfaction, happiness. Like, in creation of something new, you get originality. Then happiness you get from making it, and after you finish it, you get the satisfaction. I think this chain of moments is intangible success for me.
Omkar?
I agree with you. We are very proud of the pool of clients we have gathered over the years, and them keeping uh, you in the loop with all their projects and referring them to other their friends and all has always been a very it gives you a sense of pride, and that is something we love to boast, quite honestly, to everyone we know. And we always have this discussion as to, once you give a product, that person should be happy and he should come back with more work, because that's how you measure your success. Because unless when you see that that person has not come back to you, that means you have failed somewhere. And that probably are the two sides of intangibility aspects of success. And I feel more people coming back to you is it's there are quite proud moments when you have someone you know who has called you and say, "Oh, आता माझा office पण करायचं आहे." And then that's
Yeah, I will be coming soon.
One small question on this, like, so does tangible success makes your intangible success happen?
It's an interesting.
Like, if you get more project, that's completely tangible. Does that make your success as intangible?
No, it doesn't. Come again. Let's have a. This.
Yeah, but like, see, like for me, like if I have designed something, as you say, with originality, and someone shares it on Pinterest, like what we designed for Amritsar, and someone shared it, I was like, wow, like no, like other recognition will be like this cool, like my work is on Pinterest.
Definitely. So I just found a link between tangible and intangible success.
Very timely. Yeah, very smart. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Ketan.
For me, it's the same thing which everyone said. Like, mostly the clients coming back to us, and we have been having clients which have told us to just design a stool or a table for us, and we have been working since their offices, their homes. So I call that as a success for me. Like, that person has to design something. He comes and just calls us and says, "Brother, you have to design a stool for me tomorrow. I needed a stool." So I think for that, his whole life's process of design and everything which he puts faith on us. So that is the success which I have earned from all the repeated clients which we have been working since so long, and the new ones which come in and they start repeating their works with us for even a small to a larger projects also. That's what I call a success. That's
excellent.
A
Yeah.
simple
Gargi?
one for me.
I'll say self-sufficient might be the word for me which I'm looking for.
It's self-sufficiency in terms of tangible or intangible.
Intangible.
And if intangible, what do you mean? Yeah.
So obviously, you work because you bread and butter. You need everything. But till the time when I paid my first rent in Bombay, I thought, okay, I think I'm on the right path of success. Maybe this is how it is to be done. But then later, as my mom says, पैसे हाथ की धूल होते. And I think I took it very literally, where I couldn't. I started splurging, which I still do. I still do, yes. But then having a good productive day where you think, okay, maybe eureka moments, as you said. Having a good productive day where you think, okay, I may have cracked a good design, or maybe I am. There are very rare moments where you'll say, okay, this design is the best, because you are doing A option, B option, C option, and you are confused. And when you think, okay, that's this A plan or maybe A design is the best, I think that will be the best night's sleep, as Kaushik said. But also you work to have all this world tour and cars and all these things, and as kids we have seen it, so maybe we have taken it for granted. That's why you crave for more of your client's appreciation. These all things are granted.
So you mean to say taking granted is wrong, tangible is important, but intangible, the client's appreciation is what, according to you, is your intangible success. That's what you want to say. Nice. Okay, next question. Yes, Poonam.
That from my father, like just reflecting upon what everyone is saying, intangible success that I have seen with my father is staying with the times. So although he has a practice for 36 years, he is still very much like raring to go and trying to stay up with like whatever new software we're learning, we'll show him, and he's very intrigued. Like, like imagine the word computation and parametric for guys who started off on paper. But I think that is also like super intangible for me. Like I hope I can do it.
In fact, I remember the way he showed me his home. He was so excited with the gadgets, the home theater. He was, so he keeps himself.
Yeah, so that is also I think quite important.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, next question to Rushi. Rushi, tell me one thing. Which is the most important golden rule which your father never breaks in his professional practice? And which is the most important rule that you don't break in your professional practice?
See, one thing probably which he told me before going for, like, I went to Bangalore for my training and all these things. So he was of the opinion that learn everything, whatever you could, like give your 100%, do whatever he says. Like don't deny the fact that like if your principal architect asked to do something else other than design, do everything whichever you can. Once I joined him, he was he didn't teach me, but what I see him, he's very transparent about all these things, honest about to his client, and he never motivated me for money. Like he's like, get your satisfaction right first, and money is secondary. It comes.
Because you're already rich.
So not that thing, but yeah, obviously being transparent is what he got. And one thing which I actually don't break is it's his client satisfaction. If at the end of the day the house looks beautiful, everyone appreciates it, I also love it, everyone colleagues love it, but if the client is not satisfied, if like Rushi, yaar ye agar hota na to aur acha tha, so that day I won't sleep at night. It is that if he is satisfied, even if I doesn't like some things, it's obviously I shouldn't be dominant about this house. It's his house, his dream. So I just feel his satisfaction is which I shouldn't break.
These are wonderful values. Yeah. But any particular physical rule, or a mental rule which he doesn't break at his work in his professional practice? Any particular rule which it's very sacred to him? Or being transparent itself, you feel is...
So budget, to be honest, budget is one very important rule. Okay. Like when we grow, like, client ka budget hoga, par theek hai ho jayega. But he is very particular about it. Okay. Get your budgets right first, then go into designing. Like you will design beautiful things and make your beautiful 3D renders. But that doesn't fit in the budget, doesn't make sense. So obviously what is in the budget, do accordingly.
Yeah, that's very important for a client. And your own golden rule which you never break in your...
I'm following that right now. So actually I'll realize it later. But yeah, that's what satisfaction is one thing which
Omkar?
I think his golden rule is his brutal honesty. And it doesn't matter who is in front of him. It sometimes comes across as being very rude. But at the end of the day, that brutal honesty takes you much ahead in that any project or any path you choose, and that is something I have seen him, because a lot of times he keeps telling me if your vendors are wrong, if your contractors are wrong, make sure that you tell them that they are wrong. You don't need to hide. And if in front of your client or your contractor, if the client is wrong, make sure that you tell the client that you are wrong and not your. So taking, he doesn't take sides. He takes the side of the truth all the time. So I've seen a lot of times on site there's different arguments coming up because of miscommunication or sometimes due to dishonesty on someone's part, and he has made sure that that thing is resolved to its basic honesty itself.
Yes, Ruchi.
So I'd seen Hari sir once, like during my first year of college. So he was sitting with dad. Obviously, he was talking something which, maybe no offense, but he's commented something on which I did not really like it. But I later discussed with dad. So he told me things like, if he is saying it something, it has to be like he was direct straight. No other things like कुछ अलग बातें
No
करके
sugarcoating.
No, that he's direct straight, and you should appreciate that, because why do you want to fake around and these things? So I really appreciate that once during this E&I.
Oh, thank you. Omkar, and your own
And,
rule.
I am not a brutally honest person. I am not fake. I try to be very
No, no,
transparent.
so that's your
But,
rule.
yeah.
Not being honest. No.
No, no.
So what's your rule?
No, I am always honest, but I make sure that the while hammering, I make sure that anvil doesn't loses its its integrity. So every time there is any sort of problem, I try to cool things down first and try to make the people understand this was wrong. Or so I am also honest, but I am not. I'm not brutal. I don't go with this rage.
So which is the biggest lie you have ever told to your client in your career?
I have not lied to my clients or anyone. I've never. I always make sure that I'm not lying to anyone.
So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah. Bhavya, which is the golden rule of Usha ma'am, which she will never break in a professional practice?
I can't think of a golden rule per se, but one thing I really admire about her, because I've sadly not like that. But basically, if she has a creative idea, she will see that idea through from 0 to 100 in its exploration before declaring that, okay, maybe this is not a good idea. I am, on the contrary, I will reach 30, I'll lose my calm about it, and I'll try 50 other things. And so I think this is something I really want to try to head in her direction in that sense.
I would also like to know which is your golden rule, which you never break in your practice.
I had a very shallow golden rule, which was to not bring any work home on my laptop. But since COVID happened, that is not happening. So nothing otherwise.
Neeraj?
I think his clarity and his brutal honesty to everyone, like Hari sir, I think he is on the similar tracks, and as if you all know him, of course. So that's what I admire about him always, and sometimes I feel scared that he just said this to someone, and that works. And so I mean, I am brutally honest person, but by looking at someone doing that is a different thing than doing by yourself. So that I totally admire about him. Then his nature of being realistic. He does not let you float. He's like, come back, stick to the ground, stick to the ground. You are going somewhere wrong. That's not going to happen. So I think these are very core.
What's his process in remaining grounded?
I mean, there is no process.
How does he stay grounded? Like, is there any?
Yeah, he believes in like principles. Like he will never break any law or a principle for any client. He will leave the work, but he won't break that. So that's how he keeps everything realistic, and he can sleep completely
Great
peacefully
golden rules.
every night.
Both the rules are
Yeah,
amazing.
that's what I'm trying to learn from him, and he always tells me that like you have to be realistic. If you want something to get built, you have to be realistic. And my golden rule is to make new dreams and show him. So he brings me back.
Chinmay.
I would say integrity and zero corruption has always been,
ethics,
his way
he's
of
strong on
absolutely,
ethics.
absolutely to the core. I think I am also made that way thanks to him, And yeah, so right from the ground up, right from, I would, okay, I should say this, the number of screws that go onto site, he at one point in his mind, I don't know how he does it. He always has this exact calculation for the number of screws that you may need for a particular, type of project.
Wow.
And, he always has this very strict rule about not going, about letting us go into all of those details, but he himself knows, if something is amiss, or if there is some corruption going on at any level, may it be the carpenter or the supplier, or even in the office, that can happen. And yeah, I am also very much that same kind of person, and I also definitely don't allow any of those practices to happen. Brutal honesty, I agree with everyone right now. It's just that sometimes the way that these people, they put things out, I would say they are a bit soft, or maybe because of their age, it doesn't sound so, in your face. I have tried to do that a couple of times. It has not gone down well at all, especially with him, because he was like, how can you say things like this? Of course, my wording was very different than his. So yeah.
Yeah, Kaushik?
So there are two, I think, golden rules for my father. First one is the punctuality aspect, which I think I'll allow Poonam to elaborate on since she knows that aspect more. The second one, which I'll be speaking on, I think his golden rule, which he follows, is getting everything down on paper. He is, I don't know, I don't think it's old-fashioned, but he is someone who doesn't believe much on, I have it in my drive, I have it on the cloud, I'll send you the budget on WhatsApp or whatever. He will write everything down on paper. We have so many vendors coming in, so many, people who come with presentations. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he will say, whatever it is, you tell me on the paper. How much are you quoting? How much are you negotiating? Be it anything, even the designs he will not see on CAD. He will never tell the changes on AutoCAD or any of the softwares. He will say, print it out and I will tell you on paper. And even photo albums, like if they do a lot of world tours or whatever, like you mentioned earlier, he will always print all the pictures to date. He will pay for the printing cost, but he will not pay for a Google Drive subscription. That is one of his good positive rules, which I think. And the other one, which the second part of your question, the one which I follow is following up, keeping everyone on the same page. Something which I really respect of your quality also, that, yeah, like sending in 2 days to go, 1 day to go, today you have to come, and I think probably from our side, we all take it for granted, ki, Amit will message, Amit will coordinate, ho jayega. But it's a lot of work, informing vendors, informing sponsors, informing valet parking people, caterers, in your aspect. In our aspect also, I think in architecture, informing the client, informing your CAs, informing your government sectors, if you're working into government projects, informing your contractors, your laborers. So this is one thing I never like, even if I wake up at 11 or 12 on a Wednesday thinking I'll bunk office, I'm still on my phone and I will update everyone with whatever progress is happening.
So updates and follow-ups.
Always. No matter what I do, I will even in academics when I'm teaching, I will update everyone, students, co-faculties, no matter what it is.
Yamini?
I think the commitment, for the client. So it could, like, sometimes they could come up with something as a fancy idea, and they would, both of them rather, they would educate the client that you don't need it, you don't need to waste or something like that. They would go out of the way and do it, or they would try and tell them also sometimes that, yeah, you can reuse this, don't bother demolishing it or something like that. So that is something that I really admire. I don't think I have that kind of strength that I could do that. That, yeah, he's willing to go ahead and do it, then just do it. So that is something that and also commitment in terms of time, in terms of okay, we will give it to you on whatever date, and that means it is done.
So deadline is like Lakshman Rekha.
Deadline is, yeah, it's done. Then that's it. So nothing. So that
And your own golden rule, which you never break in your professional practice?
I don't know. I think I just follow my heart, I guess. Yeah, I don't worry about so what will happen. I think I enjoy the process as much as the final design.
That
So I
sounds like
think-
more like an attitude rather than a rule.
Yeah,
so it's your attitude.
I'm not sure about a rule as per.
Okay, no, you
as-
can pass
yeah.
anytime. That's all. Okay, Poonam.
So my father's golden rules, I'd like to tell two. One is he has to be in office at 8 o'clock in the morning, which he's been doing for the past 4 decades almost. And secondly is because we have a lot of vendors, he will not keep any payments pending ever. So he was in hospital for 5 months, 4 years back. But even all those 4 5 months, all the payments were always done. All the salaries in office were always done. So that is one thing which I've learned from him. Money, you have to be super clear, and where payment is due, you have to pay it in time. And my golden rule is not to take advantage of the fact that it is my father's office, so I can bunk or do whatever time pass I have to. So even if I get calls from my friends saying that, "Arey, it's your office, come, let's go for coffee," I don't do that. I will be in office the time that I have promised to be in office.
Okay, wonderful. Ketan.
Dad's golden rule is like very clear. He is like be honest with everything to your client, like clients. Maybe the budget thing or the material which we are using, or sometimes they say we want to do this, but he says there's no need of doing it. So that honesty should be there. So that he's and the punctuality, the second most important thing, that which I've been seeing him doing consistently for years and years and years. So that is
Excellent.
the
Yeah.
main.
Gargi.
I'll say the involvement in project. That means a lot to.
That's a rule
Yes.
that she involves herself 100%
Yes,
in all
yes.
projects.
She's involved, she's committed, and she's very honest with the client or any labors on the site. And somehow she manages to win over everyone's heart. I don't know how. That's a
So,
knack.
is it a combination of communication skills also,
Maybe,
as
yes.
well as her goodness
Yes,
at
that's
work?
how, yeah. So, defeating someone and telling the client, okay, this is not possible, which I may do it. But for her, she'll put it very nicely, or maybe she'll show some other positive side of her design, where by default, client will say, okay, no, go ahead with your design. I would really want to learn how she does this. So,
Okay. And
Yeah.
your own golden rule?
so me and Sahil, my husband, we really like Mr. Scott, which is Michael Scott. So he says, kiss, just keep it simple, silly. Yes. So we try to keep things simple. And maybe for me, also, as Kaushik said, the communication means a lot. Telling your client how it has to be done, or this is possible, this is not possible, or keeping everyone up to date is
Okay,
our
so
goal.
update everyone and following up. That's what he
Yes,
meant.
yes.
So we'll start with Kaushik. Okay, there's this huge debate going on in Bollywood. Everyone knows regarding nepotism. So, there are people for it, against it. There are all sorts of opinions coming in. So, does something like this exist in our field first? Secondly, okay, coming to you, do you feel privileged because of your father being an architect? Or do you feel you had the pole position early on in your career, or an advantage over others who don't have their mother or father who are designers or architects? Or you'd feel it doesn't matter? Or is it a double-edged sword? So, your comments.
Okay, so there are, I think, 5 or 6 questions in this one big question. So let's start with the topic of nepotism. I think this whole speculation about nepotism has come across because of the times we live in. It's not like nepotism was never there and it just came in the 21st century. We live in such competitive times right now that maybe, because of social media or this whole democracy in which you have right to speak or whatever, this is just another topic which has come up. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, or it's something that needs to be just buried in the basement or something. But like you were talking about nepotism in Bollywood, so I feel it was always there. Like if you see the Deol family, for example, Dharmendra and his sons, or Hema Malini and her daughters, or the Kapoor family, where, Karishma Kapoor in 90s or Kareena Kapoor in early 2000s. It was always there. So it's just that probably the awareness wasn't that high that time, so it never really came up, or nobody even thought of it. Like nowadays, if you see a politician makes a speech, they'll catch him if he sneezes, or if he hiccups, or if he pronounces a word wrong. So nowadays, this is something which is really coming up. Uh, like I said, I'm not saying we should ignore it. It exists, yes. The second part of your question.
Do you feel privileged yourself?
Yes, that was the second question, right? I don't think I'd be privileged as such. I'll tell you why. Because uh, I get a lot of questions from my students or my co-faculties that would you like your son or your daughter to be an architect? And I always say no. And I'm sure a lot of our parents would obviously, if you interview them ever in the future, they'll always say that no. So whatever we have done as a second generation, it's more of choice rather than force. So, we have chosen to be architects. It must be a distraction, or it must be like inspiration, seeing our parents that, okay, a confidence, pseudo confidence that we'll be as successful as them. So it was our choice, and they supported us, obviously, like any father or any mother would support their children. But I mean, I don't see the point. Like Abhishek Bachchan is there with Amitabh Bachchan, or Arjun Tendulkar is there with Sachin Tendulkar. I don't see what privilege they have as such. And I think it's the same in architecture. If you have the capacity to prove yourself as an individual or even as a family, what Roshi was saying, if you can keep up to your family's legacy, your name, and maintain it, like the Ambani family, for example, their sons and daughters are doing everything to keep up the name of the family. If you have it in you, then I don't think the privilege really matters.
Okay. This is an open, you may come
Yes.
in again. Okay. Omkar?
Nepotism needs to be addressed, but it is I think we miss out on understanding what nepotism is. Having a privileged background and coming into the same field is different, whereas nepotism is the fact that you don't allow someone else to success because you want your son or daughter to success in the, so not giving someone else a chance is what nepotism is. Whereas
The dictionary definition of nepotism is a person in power using his or her power to help and support and do favors for his friends or family.
so it's an undue advantage. Okay, whereas advantage is concerned, yes, we have that advantage. There's a lot to gain from. The experience is the biggest factor you gain on. So it's not a race. So I wouldn't say that there is any pole position. There's first, there's last. Advantage is terms of knowing the experience. Whereas my parents are concerned, they never thought that I would take up architecture. But it's a lot of kids you will see even from other professions also, invariably they take up the same professions which their parents have taken up, probably due to you are in that environment for a longest time, and it gives you a massive confidence to go into the same field because you know that you can cash in on their experience and not their success. I don't think any of our parents here are stopping someone else from getting that kind of success. Okay, so that is the most important factor which we need to differentiate between nepotism and privilege. So I feel, whereas Bollywood is concerned, there are these factions where they do not allow someone else to succeed here because there are production houses. Here we don't have production houses. Every person on this planet is our client, and that doesn't reduce someone else's chance to
Plus,
grow.
you have to put in 5 years of
Yes, education is, of
and-
course, you can't just start directly. So education is there. Then there are a lot of other aspects also that you have to go through, and designing, be it or any aspect, whether you are a musician or whoever. There's always this level playing field. So everyone has got a chance to success, and they can succeed the way they. If you start cribbing about everything, then that success won't come to you. So even in all the fields, people who have succeeded have gone beyond the criticism of where अरे ये तो automatically success मिलाने वाला है, or this guy is definitely going to succeed because his parents are. No, you have to go beyond that. So once you do that, I think success is there for everyone to grab.
But Omkar, do you think an architect who sees Omkar Agashe and feels his father is Hari Agashe, has been so successful, इसको तो advantage है यार. I've come from Satara, I have to stay somewhere, pay rent, and then struggle through my college. My father is a farmer, and he doesn't know what is architecture. I somehow, and I'm now going to work with someone for 2-3 years, and just asking.
Right. So I think the rent is due for everyone. So there's no advantage or disadvantage. Everyone has to pay their rent. It doesn't matter what that rent is. So the background and I think people sometimes get confused as to what they want to do, and when things don't move for themselves, they try to see the other aspect of life where so they don't see our struggles, but they see only the advantage, and that I think is I don't need to I don't think anyone needs to be educated on that front, because they are right in their own thought process, because yes, from outside you see that grass is always greener on the other side.
Well spoken. I absolutely get your drift. Poonam, the same question. We are going in a line now. Kaushik has answered, but Poonam, and then I would also, after you reply, I would also like you to address the struggles he mentioned that even you all have. Not going into the details, but just to everyone to get an idea.
I don't know if it can be called nepotism, but the question that you asked, Omkar, it sometimes has worked very strangely against us. That as you said, हाँ हरी सर का लड़का है, तो इनके पास तो already बहुत काम है ना, तो why to give, like maybe they're really busy, they do only those kind of projects. So when we have started, like the struggle part comes into it, we've done like just एक living room का one TV unit, and then just one sofa, and then something like that. So we've done all that, but I think that is in a way sometimes work to our disadvantage also. And yeah, I mean, but it's like what Kaushik said. This has been happening since ages, like the Gharana system that is there. If you can update your skills at home, then like I think for me, I made that smart decision and choice that yes, I wanted to work in my father's office eventually. So although I went to London, did my master's there, worked in Dubai, I knew that yes, this is what I wanted. My father has already built this up from zero, so why shouldn't I take it forward?
So if you achieve, it's architect's daughter hai, and if you don't achieve, then the
so it's a risk, na, like, and it's a risk for our parents.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, so they also have to see, na, कि अरे मेरी लड़की बेचारी successful हो गई, नहीं हो गई. So for them also, it's like a sort of challenging.
Yeah. Omkar wants to come in.
I think for every Abhishek Bachchan, there are always going to be a Zakir Hussain. So that is, I think everyone needs to be aware that there's advantage is
and
only for
Ambani at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Advantage is only at the beginning. Once you are on your journey, that the journey is yours, and it's not your kids. It's not even your parents' journey. It's your own journey.
Well spoken. Neeraj?
I think I totally agree with what these three of them have said, because most of the points are already covered, and I do believe it's just a matter of perspective and priority, I would say.
But as Omkar said, it's just the beginning where the privilege is. But then maybe is that a major factor for a normal person who doesn't, no, I'm not saying normal, a person who doesn't have an antecedent as an architect or interior designer, he or she may feel, oh, this is a great advantage, you've grown up amongst architects, you've heard talks about architecture bachpan se, and you've been invited to all other meets, where even in student phase, because and so on. I don't know, I'm just asking, I'm just
No, I don't think, at least with me, that never happened, bachpan se and all. Like, he had no clue if I will join architecture or not. So I totally agree, there is an advantage because there is so much experience behind us, and like we can totally count on that experience. So that's an advantage part. But there is,
and you're entitled to it, so
yeah.
it's not your
and I mean, and about the thing of let's say, I mean, about the opportunity thing, there are, I mean, whoever wants to participate and achieve more, there are always ways to do that. So at that point, for a competition, everyone's on same page. So
True.
if you have it, you prove it. That's the only, I think, principle that works in competitions or to get bigger. And that's the only way to get bigger, I would say.
Absolutely. Ketan?
Yeah, and our parents are not like handing us projects, no, that sometimes we wish that, yeah, like, you know,
Yeah.
but they're like, your struggle, tum dekho.
Definitely.
So,
You have to go through that process.
yeah.
I agree with what Omkar said, and your question about an outsider architect coming and looking at, celebrity architects or whatever you choose to call it. I feel it's the same in terms of lawyers and doctors also. But the good part about this current generation is that we are all willing to share. Not I'm not saying share projects or whatever, but like the definite advantage which I see is probably we know the market better, we know the rates. At the tip of our tongue, we can make a quotation. If somebody client asks us, कि ये इतना square feet का घर है कितना लगेगा, you can immediately reverse calculate because of the experience. But I have so many fresher friends who started their own practices and they call me that, plywood का rate कितना रहेगा, can you tell me? Or tiles का, we never say no. The good part about this generation is, even if I ask my lawyer friend that I'm doing law, but since your father is an established lawyer, can you tell me section IPC जो भी इसके अंदर क्या क्या आता है? Then he will not say no. He will always help us. So I think that bond amongst us is something which is very strong, and that basically just culls out the nepotism topic for us, at least in architecture.
I would just like to concentrate on the sentence which you said, like the person coming up from the farming background and coming here into the city and getting into this field and struggling and seeing us having the platform which we had and everything. If I might say, if I had chosen to do farming instead of being an architect, okay, I would have rather seen you in the same way, because I would say like, okay, you have a farming background, you know how to farm, you have got all the experience behind you and everything. So it is it's for so easy for you and so difficult for me, to just plant a seed also. So it's the same thing vice versa, the people who come up from a different
So
background.
nobody says to a farmer's son ki he
Yeah, you have got it in the heritage. You have got it in the heritage,
I can't even think of a counter question.
That's how it is. Like, it's like, okay, I've chosen to be an architect and my father has already been one and I've already got a setup ready. So it's not, it's just like, okay, you got a platform ready, but that doesn't mean that you've got every means, to be successful. It's up to you.
You have to deliver
individually. The way you work, you'll get your next work on your work, not on your dad's work.
True.
Okay?
Ruchi? Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree with to everyone. Like, it's nepotism. Actually, it's everywhere. It's in all fields. If you say agriculture, like farming also. So in agriculture also, maybe studying agriculture, your friend like in a college, he must have said कि तेरे dad की तो ज़मीन है उधर तू तो कर लेगा. Your dad is a farmer. It happens there as well. I'm telling you, like it happens everywhere. So it's in my college days also. Like people used to tell me like तेरे को नहीं है ठीक है, you're set. You'll be good after you're done. So but I still feel the pressure. Like keeping our dads have sowed the seeds. The like sapling has come to a tree now. We just have to yield the fruits, no? So it's like that. We have the pressure to yield those fruits. Also, it's tough. Yeah.
As Poonam says, why should we not?
Yeah, you don't look at the other side. It's like we are still in pressure. Like you have to keep it there. It's pressure for us. No doubt the privileges are extraordinary. Like her dad has done everything. Everything was set when I joined the office. Also, the system was set. But yeah, it's a pressure always. Like I still like
So
to
you
enjoy
all
the pressure.
believe there is a pressure also to succeed.
Eventually, even if your father is an architect, you have to talk to the client, you have to go for selection, you have to make the quotation, you have to stick to your commitment. So just because your father is in office, he's not designing it like babysitting you. So it's
So
your
do you
struggle.
just asking? Do you subconsciously try to overcompensate compared to
I think-
another person who doesn't have an antecedent?
I think in college I used to a lot. I have all through my 5 years, I have never gone to my father with any sheet, any project. I made sure he never knew what I was doing, and only after the final results were out, I used to show him this is the design
Which
that
is
I
not
did.
seen by the general public or people, observers. Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, Gargi.
Yeah, so nepotism is what you're saying, where I may have a little Bollywood background, where I could say if you make the cut, you will be successful. So there is not compulsory if Rohit Shetty's dad was a stuntman.
Yeah.
He is a director. Maybe his son would want to be a DOP. It is not compulsory that whatever you are pursuing, your kids might pursue it. And
But you don't think you are privileged because architect Neeta Kulkarni is your mother, so you had an inside knowledge, know-how.
definitely, I am privileged and how? Because as kids, I have seen how to deal with the vendors, or maybe how to talk to people, or maybe how not to present yourself, or how to present yourself. Obviously, I knew all the jargons before I knew my 10th
So
standard.
you believe that you had a pole position
Yes.
in this race, if it is called a race, compared to someone else who didn't have a mother or a father as an architect and who passed out at the same time as you. So you had an advantage.
I
and you
will
had
say
a
it's a
privilege.
privilege, but as well as I'll say we have a little more of burden, where my mom had a big legacy where she was a student, where she was a teacher, and her big clients always they always ask her, "Ki, what is Gargi up to, or what is she doing? Is she stepping up? Is what are things
So
happening?"
there's added pressure.
Yes.
Okay. Bhavya?
So again, I would agree that this is more privilege than nepotism. And of course, privilege, like everyone has said, manifests in many ways. But I think there's one very devious thing where architecture catches you, which is so maybe privilege sometimes is that we start off dealing with a much larger project than some of our peers would do if they just start off. Maybe they start off with a single room or something, we could go in acres or whatever that is. But the design process, I think, in architecture is such that regardless of what your scale is, it eventually comes down to the TV unit in that room, to a joinery detail, and then everything is just, then you're all at sort of an even playing field. And I think where it comes to the privilege of your parent having the same, having a knowledge base that you can sort of dip into, I think that would have been very valid maybe about a decade ago or so. But now with the internet and now with plywood prices being a Google search away, honestly, sometimes I don't go to mom, I just Googled it. Stuff, right? So at some level, I feel like it's evening out. So bringing back this nepotism argument is very different because in architecture, I don't think you're in the public eye as you are in a Bollywood sort of setting. So I think it's more around privilege, but at the end of the day, it just at some level, it flattens out.
Later on. But you have an early advantage.
No, not really.
I don't agree with the early advantage because I remember when I joined office, I was like, I still am, I think, like a regular employee. So it's not like my dad will say, ki, "Arey, aa gayi ladki," like give her a project, she'll go on site and handle everything. I was not allowed to go on site. Like same for Omkar for so many years, and then after they thought ki okay, now like after 4-5 years they are up to okay, they can manage by themselves, then okay, you can handle like one project, which again of course started with like a TV unit or something.
Okay.
So I think it's not as rosy as it appears ki these people are just like getting out of shiny cars and like talking to clients.
Wake up and enter our cabins directly. So we have to. There's a always level 0 where you have to start. So
A hierarchy in the
I
office.
was in the studio for many years before even I started my own projects. So I think that aspect people don't see, quite honestly, and it was always I mean, I never had a plan B. So I told my father after my post graduation was done that I'm going to work with you. And he kept saying that you should get a experience, and I thought I need to cash in on your experience rather than someone else's experience. So, but then he had this rules and criterias where you have to go through that process, and you'll be sitting here, and you'll have your lunch with everyone else, and you're not following the time. So always it was always like you're going on time, I mean coming later than everyone. So that was something was forced on me. So I was like a normal employee, but I had to put in more hours because
That's overcompensation.
that's overcompensation. But it was from his side, and he had that feeling that he's giving some undue advantage, which I don't think I never thought it was an advantage. It was a learning curve for me.
I teach in college. I teach at BNCA, and I've seen it's not necessary that students whose parents are architects are doing better always than other students. So if you're good, you'll shine anyway.
Okay.
And I think somewhere I could relate to something you said a lot, that in the architecture years, I would be very consciously hesitant to go, just because, you have this self-determination of this has to be my battle, or this is my achievement. And you don't really want their help at that point because you're trying to prove. So I guess in some place you make it tougher for yourself also. So
Okay. Yamini?
To be very honest, I think nepotism is a very fashionable term which has recently come.
Trending,
And now it is somehow considered shameful. But until now, it was considered something to be proud of. Like a tailor's son is or daughter is typically a tailor, or a shoemaker's son or daughter becomes a shoemaker. Or a farmer for that matter, and it's always considered advantageous, obviously, because you learn so many things firsthand. And why not, because you're looking at all these things right from childhood, and you have better attention to details, or maybe how to go about things, or so definitely it is an advantage. I remember in my first year, everybody had made their projects. Obviously, even I had my drawings, and I had put sciography. And my teachers had asked, "How did you do that?" And I said, "I don't know. I thought it would make the drawing pop up, And of course, because my college was in Ahmedabad and my parents are in Amravati, so we would never discuss about design or anything like that. But I would only carry the model all the way home while going back. But other than that, you were on your own, you figure out what you want to do with your life. But definitely it is an advantage, even though I chose to do most part of my practice out of India. Even then, of course, and in different countries, so every time I would go and start fresh, it would be a new set of learning. But in spite of that, I think definitely there is a certain advantage in terms of understanding how things work, or in terms of joinery, or in terms of how to handle a particular situation. There is an advantage, and there is definitely, compared to somebody who's coming from, let's say, a farm, who has nobody in the family who has done or seen anything. Agreed that the internet has its own advantages and puts everyone on a level field. But let's say when I bid for a competition, I have all that in my CV, as compared to somebody who's starting fresh, who does not have anybody in his family, and who's applying afresh. He has nothing to show as, okay, what is your previous background? Zero, So either he has to collaborate with somebody or struggle his way out.
So you believe it's a privilege and you're proud of it.
I'm
And
proud of it.
You
Definitely.
feel if you're entitled, why not?
Absolutely. I don't feel entitled, but I'm definitely proud of it, and I think I'm very lucky that I have that kind of backing and support, and the advantage in a way that I can understand things better. I know how to go about. And
On the contrary to what she said, I know of so many people who don't want this pressure. There are very few architects or interior designers or even people who are literally following their parents' professions or occupations. I know so many people who've just said that, "Nahi yaar, I can't handle the pressure."
They don't want to live up to what the...
They can't because they just feel they're either not capable, or they just prefer to move out, do a job somewhere, get more experience, and then it's a much sorted life. I think the times in which we live, there is so much of freedom, and the attitude to change so fast. It's getting acceptable in all. Like today, I don't want to do architecture. I want to, start a dog hostel, or I want to have pets. I'll do something like that. So everybody's so accepting of what it is, that rather than privileges and nepotism being on the rise, on the contrary, there's an equal argument that people don't want to do what their parents have been doing.
Okay.
After trying.
I would like to add something. I absolutely agree. The reason why I think I moved out of India and started to work with somebody was because, probably because I saw my parents working late nights as well on some projects. And I thought, hey, if you have your own practice in India, probably it's a lot of work, you know. I don't want to be doing so much work. I want a 9 to 5 job, and then 5 o'clock I have a good life. And of course, if you, well, architecture was my passion, and I knew that I wanted to do it. But I thought that, okay, if you work as an architect with somebody in India, you don't earn probably that well. So probably it's a good idea to
So
work
on both
outside.
counts, what was your experience abroad? The 9 to 5 thing and the income?
Well, as long as you're working as an employee, you definitely have the luxury to go back at 5. But yeah, if you're again at the same time, if you're handling a project all by yourself, then you do have to put in your extra hours. And yeah, and I think the reason why I decided to come back was I had my Swadesh moment or whatever. That's maybe a story for another time. But yeah, I think if you want to get involved in a project, or you like if you are doing a little more than an employee per se, you have to give in your hours. You know, you have to put in a little more, and that is irrespective of whether you're somebody's child or not, or you know, if you're doing something all on your own, maybe for the first time, then you, obviously because you're learning so much, so many new things, you are exploring so many things, and you want to do it right, you want to try and see what are the offs and ons, and you know, so yeah, definitely.
Chinmay.
I think I'm just going to sum up what everyone said, because everything makes such a lot of sense. Okay, there is a lot of advantage, there is a lot of help at the beginning that you get, not in terms of getting work, but just in terms of understanding of concepts, or understanding of how this practice is. But again, like I think a couple of people also said, that there's so much of pressure from all sides. For example, even if you're not from an architecture background, you are starting from the ground up, you are starting from scratch, there's that pressure to perform. Now that you already have something, and you're from the architecture, you have someone who is into architecture, and you still have that pressure to perform. So at the end of the day, I think the cream always rises to the top, and I think that is what matters.
Thank you so much. It was, thank you for being so candid, so forthcoming, so from the heart today. And I really thank you. Thanks for being on ANA Digest Mighty Minds. Thank you.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.